Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and today we have Dr. Jackie Chan, who is a psychologist. So, Dr. Chan, first, can you give us a brief self introduction? So, who are you? What majors did you take in college? And what's your career path decisions?
Wow, that's good. Thank you, Charlie, for inviting me here, and this is my honor to be here and share my experience with you guys. My name is Dr. Hugh Yong Chan, and Jackie is my English name. And lots of my friends just call me Jackie, and that's fine. And yes, I'm a psychologist. I'm a UK chartered psychologist and a Hong Kong registered psychologist too. And so your questions about my past, my background, how I end up where what I'm doing right now, right? This is what your question, right?
Yes.
Yes. I think I back then in college, I didn't study psychology in the very beginning. I study, business, just like a lot of Chinese people and lots of my Chinese peers. They tend to do. They focus more on the commercial part of the world. But the funny thing is, I was in love once when I was back then in college. And it was a long distance love. Okay, my ex girlfriend was studying in Hong Kong at that time, and I'm studying in the States, in the United States, in Hawaii back then. And I got dumped at that time for I don't know what reason it is, and I so get hurt. You know what? I feel hurt that I start to really interest about human suffering, especially the emotional suffering, because you know what I lose because you can tell from now because I'm quite quite big, but back then I lose more than 20 pounds just within 1 week because of that suffering period, and
Wow.
I can imagine I maybe experienced some kind of depressive episode back then. But this is the first time I start to become very, very interested about why people suffer from something like this. And I start to really want to look into why I'm feeling that way. And the biggest reason I guess is because some of my friends told me if I want to study psychology, then I would know how ladies think about stuff. Love. Then I can become a master of it somehow. Of course, this is a lie. Okay, this is a total lie. But I fall into that. I fell into that back then. So I studied psychology, and I spent my entire 4 years on the same subject, and I still didn't get my answer for how to get a girl love me entirely. Okay, but on
That's
the other
kind of
hand,
tragic. Yeah. So,
it is. But on the other hand, I
at
fall in
least
love
it's
with the
come out.
subject. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I love the subject a lot. And back then, I didn't really think about what I really want to do with my major, my psychology degree, and I don't even know about think about being a psychologist in the future. I'm just purely enjoy the study the subject matters I'm studying at that time, and maybe because I come from a very traditional Chinese background in Hong Kong, locally in Hong Kong. I didn't went to the international school. I just went to a local school. It's not a really prestigious school in Hong Kong, high school in Hong Kong back then. And I was pushed to study. It's not for my own passion. I just feel the pressures because I need to have to pass the public examinations to get a good grade in order to get accepted to college and then get a good job, have an okay life. This is how I told as a kid when I was a little adolescent back then. So
I see.
I get, you see that, and I get all the pressures. I guess a lot of students in Hong Kong feel the same way, especially from the traditional school. I mean, the local school, not the international school. So when I went to the college in the America, in Hawaii back then, it was a brand new experience to me that I don't even have to think about what I want to do in the future. I just pick what I love to study without thinking too much about the future, but focus on the present, what I really enjoy, what I want to make the best, get out from my learning experience at that period of time. This is what I learned from there. So this
Yeah.
is the start of my whole journey, I guess.
Well, obviously, you really liked your major in psychology. So, and
Mm-hmm.
it was definitely relevant to your career. So, did
Uh-huh.
it benefit you to take the major after swapping from business, or would you have
Uh-huh.
said it was easier or better if you'd taken psychology from the start?
Well, I don't know about psychology at all, actually. So I didn't even think about psychology because my family background come from a very, um, traditional business background, and my parents they tend to be a business owner. They own some kind of Chinese herb medicine company, something like that. And they expect me to follow their path to be a business owner. So they have been raising me like a businessman for a very long time back then. So I didn't really think about psychology at all. And I just studying business, especially the accounting and international business management. And I got a not bad grade back then. I think my GPA is kind of some kind of 3.5 or 3.6 in business. But the truth is, I did not enjoy my study at all. I just do it for the sake of completing the degree and get through the whole learning process, the whole undergraduate education back then. Because I
I see.
just follow, this is how I want to do. I didn't follow, in the beginning, for the first 2 or 3 years, I didn't enjoy learning the business subject. I just feel like this is the way it's supposed to be. And I'm quite okay with the GE class, the general educational class. Those are more interesting. But for the business, I feel this is not my passions. But still, I just do it anyway. And the other reason is because my girlfriend was in Hong Kong and she didn't end up studying in college. She just ended up finish her high school and that's it. And she entered the job market as a secretary. And I feel like I need to earn more money in order to support our future family if we will eventually get married. Okay, so that's why I kind of put my head straight to completing a business degree initially until we broke up, until she dumped me, until I see there's no reason to do that thing for her anymore. So I start to think about what can I do for myself. All right, and so that is the starting point of me kind of looking into the whole school course, the catalog, and see what other major available. And that time, I start to open my eyes to see all other possibilities. And I start to think about what I really want to do from now on, if not for other people's, if I want to do for myself, if I don't really care about how much money I make, or if I whether I will be successful in the future, I just want to focus on being in the moment, enjoy my learning experience, not to waste the 4 years period of my learning experience. I want
Wow,
to change
very
my life.
insightful. Yeah.
And then it's back then. So I start with psychology 101 class. And once I get into that class, my mind just blow, I didn't know, wow, human mind are just so fascinating. Their emotions, their thinking style, their behavior, their personality, and their relationship with people around them in the environment, all those things amazing to me at that time. So I started to study this project, this
Yeah, it's a
topic.
very interesting subject and it's very
Mhm,
broad as well. So, what would you
mhm,
give advice to students who want to
mhm.
go take a psychology or psychology related path in the future?
I think you can try it out with taking a G class first to get a taste of how it feels like before you decide if you really want to um, devote yourself to this path. All right. And the other thing is, you know what? Tell the truth. Most people choose this path because of their personal history, personal story. I never see a people they don't have personal story and choose that path. This is unusual. Usually they have their personal history, their childhood wasn't that good, that pleasant, or they have some problem with their family, or to some degree they have some personal suffering. They want to find a way out from
Okay.
educations, from the knowledge they study. Okay, they want to help themselves out somehow, or help the people around them, such as their parents or their other family members. So they start to dig into this subject. With that intention, yeah, usually they have a bigger purpose in that, and that will help them to persist along the path because the journey is pretty long. It's not easy at all. It takes really
So
really
you would
a lot.
say like psychology is more than just a career. It's kind of a lifestyle that you develop from
Yes.
your
Hmm.
experiences. So it's very deep, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And I'd also like to ask how you think students can balance their career or academic
Hmm.
dream between their ambitions to achieve high, but also have a realistic approach. So, how can they balance their expectations?
I think that's a very good question. And first, before they go any further, they need to ask themselves some question. First, what do they mean by achieve high? They need to really think, talk to themselves, ask themselves, what do you think by achieve high? Does that mean prestige? Does that mean a more lucrative job in the future, more money making ability? Is that what they're looking for? Or are they defined by how much they enjoy, how much they found passion on those subjects, whatever they're doing? So they really need to ask themselves, what do they mean by achieve that? And second, is such definition come from their self or come from their environment? Like they do it more for themselves or just do it to fulfill people's expectation on them. Because I found that if people come from what we call in psychological term the extrinsic motivation, extrinsic means something come from outside, okay, and those people tend to have problem to persist, especially during the difficult time, and they tend to get easy upset and discouraged, and they may fall from the path. So they really have to follow not from the outside expectations, from the pressure, people's advice, but instead they need to follow their own hearts, their more intrinsic motivation, what they really believe in themselves, what they really want to see themselves doing something. If not, if they are not told by certain people to go a certain way, what do they really want to do? And then they can start to think about what they want to do in the future. So they have to ask themselves, what do they mean truly personal, genuine by achieving high?
Yeah.
So this is
I'm
the question
sure
that
a
you
lot of
asked.
students also have like getting into top
Mm-hmm.
universities and being very prestigious universities as one
Mm-hmm.
of their personal goals. So what tips would you have, or what tips would you give to
Mm-hmm.
students who are about to take standardized tests or
Mm-hmm.
take extra studies and projects in a specific major? What would you give them? Tips would you
Mm-hmm.
give them?
Well, if they truly want to go for the very prestigious school, not because of their parent, but for themselves, they personally enjoy competition. They enjoy ambition. They enjoy kind of competing with other peoples for higher reputation. If this is something they truly enjoy, that well, I would say let's say applying for a school in Iraq in the US, all right. Basically, they need a SAT. Do you familiar with the SAT
Yeah,
test? Okay, the
definitely.
SAT, yes. And if they are international student, even though they speak English, but they from another, the local Chinese family, but they speak English, they still need to take the standardized English test, either TOEFL or IELTS. So this is two major tests they have to take, and then they have to get very good solid GPA, which is their average point. And during their high schools, their performance in school really count. And then the next thing they need is they really have to get some very good recommendation letter, very persuasive, the good one, solid one from their teachers, from their even from their principal or people around them, the more the authorities, and that can help them to get into school better. And on top of that, let's say they want to go to the really top school in the US, let's say the Ivy needs. The Ivy needs school over the US, maybe they will also have to consider some award or achievement outside from the school. Is, for example, some sports or some kind of achievement recognitions during the community service, something like that, in order to get those schools interest.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
basically, this is what they want, what they need for
Okay.
that. Mm-hmm.
So, from your personal experience, what
Mm-hmm.
useful skills did you learn from your high school or your college journey that still help you to this day? What has shaped you from going to your schooling and your experiences?
Tell the truth, if I wasn't grew up from a traditional local Chinese Hong Kong high school, maybe I would learn more. Let's say if my parents can afford an international school, international high school, maybe I can learn more. But the sad thing is, I didn't learn much from my high school back then. My whole memory is traumatic around the high school. I just feel like I was pushed to memorize tons and tons of information, to memorize them, and then kind of use them to answer the question in the public exams. All right. And my whole job, my whole years, all those years, just to memorize tons of information, that is never relevant to my whole life. And those things I never used in my entire life. Let's say some math concept, the physics, chemistry is fun, but it's not useful at all. Biology is fun too, but it doesn't really relevant to my work at the moment.
Yeah.
So the truth is, I think the knowledge really useful for me actually it's come from my elementary school years, not from
Oh
the
wow.
junior
Okay.
high. So, so what I learned is I just bite the bullets and get through the hardship and hoping the result worth it. And this is what I learned from there. And turns out the result not really that worth it actually. And I just discovered the core game is like the world is not that perfect. I just feel like the reason they have to put students through all those things because maybe the education resources so limited. They don't have enough opening for all students in certain majors, especially the very competitive majors. So they figure a way to screen out some less fortunate students that they are not good at memorizing stuff. They're not good and with their short-term memory like me. I'm not good with
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Oh
so those kind of people, right?
yeah.
So this is what I learned from high school. Wasn't that helpful at all? But at least I would say I survived it. Okay, I survived
Okay.
the exams and I'm still alive. I get this is the only thing I feel is I, I just get through the nightmare in my life back then. All right. So high school is a nightmare that I try to forget, but college is totally different story. All right, it's a totally different story. I feel like truly enjoy what I'm learning for the first time of my life, not for score or performance, but for the subject matter itself, the passion in the stuff I want to learn. And what I learned from a college is I take it slow, take it very, very slow. And as I take it slow and focus on my work I'm doing, I can get deeper and deeper into the knowledge I'm discovering and I'm savoring. And it helped me to see things from a different perspective, not less practical, less um, materialistic, like a goal oriented, try to just achieve success, achieving and striving, that kind of mindset, kind of moving from that to the scholar mindset, like what is the purpose of knowledge? Where is the knowledge come from? And why human being need to have those knowledge to help them to improve the world and the things around them. I start to think about different questions. I start to have a lot of questions I want to ask that I didn't have time to think about them when I was in high school because in high school I was just busy and catch up with tests, exams, homework. The value of education wasn't its practical, wasn't the knowledge practical value, but of knowledge itself. This is what I
Yeah,
learned from there.
that's very
Mhm.
insightful, and I'm really
Mhm.
glad to hear that. So I guess it's in a way, it's a
Mhm.
good sign for students who maybe aren't enjoying their high school experience as much that there's light at
Mhm.
the end of the tunnel.